Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Basketball Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent, it's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those 2 foul shots, the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a shoot question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
Good morning, everyone. Dave Haley and Pete Terrier. I've taken over this show. Pete Terrier's out right now in the streets of WGIR outside the studios, slamming his fist against the door, trying to get in here, but I have taken over this show. Finally, I've taken over Pete Terrier. No, Pete is at a water park with about 17 slides, 400 kids, and 2 of his own. I am good enough to be joined by my buddy Sam Natty, who got up at 5:15 in the morning. And in the spirit of Pete Terrier, the great Pete Terrier, I'm going to say it. What was the weather like?
It was 2 degrees.
It was 13 degrees colder than it was in Hampton this morning. So Sam, good enough to come down here this morning. He's going to be my co-host. We made the analogy on the phone the other day, Sam and I, that this could be like in Private Parts with Howard Stern, where they fire Robin Quivers, and he has to read the news, and he's talking about the princess. He's like, yeah, was it Princess? Well, anyway, she's dead. Like, it's just gone amok, and producers are, shaking their heads in the other room, and so forth. So we'll see. We'll see how this one goes today. But Nate Stanton from Londonderry, currently trying to get into his own car in the parking lot, is going to be our guest in studio. But should run the same today, folks. If WGIR goes down in flames because of me, then it is what it is. Happy New Year. So before we get to the scoreboard, I actually want to get to one score in particular. I got a very ugly email last night from Mark Collins, the Groveton coach, and it said, Groveton 73, Lisbon 31. Do you want to address that right off the top and just get this thing out of the way?
We're young. That's all I got for you. We're young.
Did the youth movement start this week?
Youth movement started. Actually, the boys played hard last night. I know the score is pretty lopsided, but there were a lot of positives, I think, that came from it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night in practice.
All right, we're going to get into that more. Okay, so let's do the scoreboard. I'm going to do the scoreboard as I usually do. Brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission, Division of Enforcement, the Buyers Beware program, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors, and we appreciate them being a sponsor of the show. So I'm going to go through. I got up early myself to add some scores this morning and add some stats onto NHSportsPage.com, but kind of go through the scoreboard right now. Start with Bishop Brady, 73-46 win over Hanover. Brendan Johnson with 18 points. Balanced scoring. I don't even think Jordan Bell hit double figures in that game. It was sort of out of hand early, and Bishop Brady, if you didn't figure out over the break, is for real. Another good win for Fall Mountain, 73-40 over Bellows Fall. Ryan Murdoch with 22 points in that one. He's off to a really good start this year. Hinsdale, I was on the new bandwagon.
Hinsdale's got 2 wins this year. They're
Do
back.
they?
They're back. 2 wins.
They're back. 52-45. Hinsdale over Newt. I was on that bandwagon early, and
45 is not a lot for them. They put up some points this year.
yeah, Connor Bradway. And then they had another kid. Their stats are on NHSportsPage.com. You get the stats for just about every team in the state. But anyway, Newt drops a 52-45 loss there. Portsmouth 77-43 over Timberlane. Cody Graham, 17 points, freshman for the Clippers. His father, the going forward story on that is that his father, Wade, is one of my best friends. So I've been trying to I would be hyping this kid more if he wasn't one of my best friend's sons. And so he has really stepped into like a big scoring role for them. They had a tough break. They went down and played East Boston and Cambridge Ridge Latin over the break and lost both games, which is not that Jim Mulvey wanted to lose, but he wanted to play stiff competition down there. That's what he did. So Portsmouth with a 77-43 win over Timberlane, welcoming Timberlane to Division II. We do a segment on this, which is pick a game that you want to talk about. We'll do that afterwards. But there might be a new segment called I Thought It Was the Girls' Score. Goffstown 66, Lebanon 49.
That one's surprising. I'm not shocked that Goffstown got a win, but 17's a big number.
Yeah, and Goffstown's been struggling. Yeah. And they haven't been able to defend. And Lebanon not getting to 50 points. And we saw Lebanon, albeit against Littleton, and I saw him in the Jamboree put up, 74 points against Memorial. This one surprised me. I saw the tweet. I said, that's a girl's score, right?
Yeah, it's got it. And, 17's a lot. If it had been, they got beat scoring in the 70s, it wouldn't have been that surprising. But
yeah. I mean, Marcus Haynes, very good guard for Goffstown. I mean, great win for Goffstown. Goffstown's a quality team. They were in our Jamboree. I mean, so this isn't against Goffstown. Just the totality of that final score surprised me. Berlin 58-35 over White Mountains. These two teams played in the Christmas tournament just a few days ago, and Berlin has now had to beat them twice. I wrote about it in the holiday column. Hanover has to play Lebanon again next week. That will be the third time they've played, and I think good riddance after that one. Wyndham with a 71-53 win over Conval. David Carbonello, very, very good point guard for the Jaguars, had 18 points. Todd Stefanidis' team might be better than we're giving them credit for. So nice win there. Co-Browns 74-55 over Kingswood. Co-Browns had some suspensions, some guys coming and going. Nice win there. Sam Langdon with another good game there. David Smith's team. I feel like they're kind of been up and down this year. They're 2-0 in the regular season, though. You know what I mean? When the games count. Yeah.
And, he knows what he's doing. He's been around a while. He's a good coach.
A Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's Kingswood's down again. And they did what they had to do. They put up some points, won by 20, and go on to the next one.
You're a jerk. You know that they beat Guilford in the Christmas tournament. You just wanted to say they were down to get me all off my game early on.
Hey.
I can't explain that one.
You're in the big chair.
The alma mater, I don't know if anyone knows, but I went to Guilford. I don't know if I ever mentioned that in the show. And I had to kind of come down the alma mater a little bit. It's tough love. I love those guys. You can't lose to Kingswood.
Yeah, I was surprised. Even though it's a D2, D3 game.
I wrote it, but I didn't feel good right now.
Yeah.
I had to, though.
You probably felt dirty after that.
I got 90 teams. I got to be fair. Groveton 73, Lisbon. Sorry, I can't even finish that one. Manchester West with a. This was an entertaining basketball game, I was told. Manchester West 71-55 over Oyster River. Zach Jones, pretty smart guy, put him first team All-State preseason. 30 points.
I think we're going to get to it in a little bit, but I think West is going to surprise some teams this year.
I don't know if they're going to surprise, but I mean,
coming off of moving down, I think they're going to be better than people think.
They're super athletic and they've got good size. And Danny Bryson knows the pieces that he's got. Like, he knows these guys, and there's something to be said for a coach that has a real good feel for when a certain kid is feeling it one night and when another kid might be a little bit off for whatever reason. So, condensed scoreboard, the final score: Littleton 81-33 over Canaan Pittsburgh. It's not on the NHIAA site, but Trevor Howard, good enough to send us the stats last night. Danny Brammer, 21 points. And the return of Ethan Ellingwood, which I think is going to be a key. I touched on in that column this week. He comes back with, I believe he had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, 5 assists, just all over the floor. And what Trevor talked to me about is he's the kid who might have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder on the court in a good way. I mean, that's a good thing. And, might bring a little more attitude to those guys. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that they're missing is, that edge to when they play. They're better than everybody up north. They're probably not going to lose a game up there all year, but I think he's going to keep them on the right track.
Yeah, and kind of, what were your thoughts on, as somebody who's a rival of Littleton, and you played them already this season, your kids played tough. I mean, you lost by, I think it was like 24, but your kids played tough in that one. what were your thoughts about them? They left the Christmas tournament you're in. I don't think it would have done them any good to beat Kane and Pittsburgh in the first round. You saw what they did to them last night. And then beat Paul Greenlaw's team, Profile, in the finals there by, 20 or 15 or whatever. He got wins over Mascoma and he got wins over Franklin. What do you think he got something out of that tournament, even though that Lebanon game was so one-sided?
Well, I think where it's going to help him is we were at the game, and to see them play Lebanon early on, they hung with them for a little bit, but you could tell that they were hanging on. And I think for a lot of those guys, it was their wake-up call. Maybe they're not quite as
real early.
Yeah, they're not
it was
quite
like
as
8-0.
Because there's a ton of talent there, but I think they're high school kids. You win every game by 40, you're gonna kind of lose track of where you are, and I think that brought them back down to earth. And then they came back and got a good win in the third game, so they obviously learned something from it. But I think that's something Trevor's going to be able to go back to throughout the year.
Yeah, I watched Sunapee go in there against Goffstown in the Jamboree, and those two kids in particular, Isaiah Chappelle and Matt Tenney, basically said, "Forget this. We're not getting embarrassed. We're not getting blown out by Goffstown. Bigger team. I mean, you saw them in warm-ups. You got some of the kids for Sunapee who are struggling to make layups, and you got some of the kids from Goffstown who are struggling not to dunk it, because they don't want to get technical. But those two kids, Chappelle and Tenney, went out there and said, we're not letting this happen, and they played their butts off. Combined for every single point they scored. I think they scored 60. I mean, Chappelle, I think, had 30. I think it was 32 and 25, maybe, that they ended up having. That I didn't see that from Littleton. There wasn't a guy.
No, and I think that's one of the things they're going to develop over the years. Who's going to be their go-to guy? I certainly think Danny Brammer's somebody that could do that. Kubkowski could do that. They've got some pieces, and as good as Trevor is, they're going to figure it out. It's not an if, it's just a when. Surprised
you that Brady beat Pembroke pretty easily?
Yeah, I think that's another one. I'm not surprised that they won, but the way that they did it, from what I heard, it wasn't that competitive.
See, I think the way that they did it isn't surprising. That's the thing. That's the fatal flaw. Central beat Pembroke by like 30 in that fall league, and I am the biggest. I don't want to be a hypocrite. Fall league, it doesn't mean that much to me because it's you got kids coming and going, you got real coaching going on, and so forth and so on. But there is such a thing as bad matchups, and Central is a bad matchup for Pembroke. And what does Bishop Brady bring to you? They bring quick guards that you've got to stay in front of, and that is, I'm not going to call it the fatal flaw on in early January, but that's the real problem for Pembroke is can they defend guards like that?
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's what they're working on a lot. Mataloso will figure that out, but I think part of it too is I don't think anybody realized how good Brady was going to be. Everybody knew they were going to be good, but to go in that kind of performance, even though it's a Christmas tournament, Brady-Pembroke is about as vicious a rivalry as you can get in the state. And to do that, that shows something, how good they are.
And I think it was you the other night said to me, who do they have behind the Bell brothers? Brendan Johnson's very, very good. I mean, people rave about him. 6'4" forward, can shoot the ball. Aaron Svensson is a big guy for them who's really gotten overlooked. They got a shooter, Matt Quirk. They've got pieces over there. That's a very well-rounded team. Today, the best team in Division II. Okay, we're going to we've made it through our first break. When we come back, I'm going to have Sam Natty. I asked him to rank the Sam Natty Power Rankings, his top 4 teams in each division. I want to go through them with you. We'll take a break now, come back on the other side. We'll catch up that here on the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
From Manchester West to Winnicott, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth, this is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Jeremy Mahaney knows how to get me going. Winger in the morning. Sam Natty and I were talking about Hair Nation this morning, Channel 39.
They were on fire.
Oh, my God. Good Lord.
Somebody threw me a bone for driving through Franconia Notch at 5:30 this morning.
Going through Candia, I had tears running down my face as Heaven by Warrant was playing. Of course, the late, great Janie Lane, R.I.P. Vodka and pills in a hotel room. Not the way you want to go.
Yeah, it's not a good combination.
No, you'd rather be – we covered this in last year's game between Colebrook and Groveton, but you'd rather be eaten by a shark or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Something that's going to get you some notoriety.
Yeah, people say, oh, my God, Dave Haley, he probably fought that shark for 5 minutes. All right, so – we got a few before Nate Stanton from Londonderry comes in. Again, Dave Haley, in as usual, I'm in the big boy seat, And Sam Natty, Lisbon head coach, champion of Class S when they used to call it Class S 2 years ago. My buddy is in from Landaff, New Hampshire, where it was 2 degrees this morning, so I appreciate it, man. So give me your top 4 teams today, and we're going to start with Division I. Give me your Sam Natty power rankings.
If we're going on today, I think number 1 is Pinkerton.
God bless you.
With their size, I can't go against you on that one. With their size, they just came off the Commonwealth Classic.
Boy, I got a
win.
lot of noise about that pick.
They backed you up. I mean, that.
I don't think they're going to win it, but I think that they're going to be the number 1 seed. That
tournament's no joke. You know, they beat some teams to get there, and I think they've got to. If they can be more disciplined, they weren't very good last year, and now they're really good. Their size. If they depend on that size and they get a little sloppy here and there, I could see somebody dinging them. But
kid Brennan Morris can shoot it.
Yeah, they got tools.
Yeah.
And they've got guys in all the spots. But it's going to be how hard do they work day in, day out? Can they go into gyms? Because going from a team that was on the bottom half of the standings to number 1, that's a big jump, and more on the mental side than anything, because they've got all the tools. They've got a great point guard. They've got shooters. They've got size. They can play a bunch of different defenses. But it's going to come down to how disciplined are they, and can they handle the pressure of that. Number 2, I have Londonderry.
Is that because Nate Stanton is probably 10 feet away from you?
That is not because of Nate Stanton, though.
Because he's not an intimidating guy. Great guy. He's not going to hurt you. Well, You're a big guy, too.
Yeah, well, I'd say he's a little bigger than I am. I think it comes down to them. Cody Ball is the real deal.
I agree with that.
He may, he was your preseason player of the year. He might be the best player, in the state, or if he's in the discussion. I think their biggest issue is going to be interior defense. They've got some size, but it's perimeter oriented. And at some point, somebody's going to slow them down. If there's a shot clock in New Hampshire, I don't think anybody beats them.
I know. That's a shame. Yeah. I love that Pelham-Londonderry game was played with a shot clock. And you saw the I mean, it was a double overtime game, but what was it, 80-78 or something like that?
But you look at the tools they have, end of shot clock situations, they've got 5 guys on the floor that can make something happen, where in New Hampshire, you have to deal with that 4 times a night. So somebody, could slow it down, could grind with them. They've certainly got the tools to make it work, but I think that's their big issue right now. 3, I have Central. There's a lot of question marks there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I work for Doc Wheeler, neighborhood fundraiser. He's my boss. I mean, he's more of a friend than a boss. He never treated me like he's my boss. But I don't know a lot about him, and I know, and I know about them. I mean, Amaro Conte was not there for the Memorial game. I won't get into why or whatever, but he wasn't there. Joey, as you know, Joey Martin, I think the world of. Kid's a winner. And I think he's a Division II basketball player. But is that you feel the same way? Like there's just a lot to be seen with that team.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. But I think a big positive for them is, as you covered in that Christmas tournament, Doc went into the locker room and questioned him a little bit. And knowing Doc, he probably didn't.
I think is a nice way of putting it.
I don't think he walked in and said, hey, why don't you try a little bit harder? And the kid responded, scored 19 points in the second half. So he can carry the load there. And they're Central. They're going to play hard.
Evan McDonald hit some big shots in that game for them.
So I think there's some stuff there. They're a work in progress.
Yeah.
And number 4, I have Pembroke Academy.
Yes.
And I think you've covered, how are they going to guard quick, fast guards. They've got all the size they need. They've got players at all the positions.
Now, a game that I believe I'm going to be covering, I hope to be covering next Friday night, is Pembroke at Pinkerton. I think the great John Kesty and I, or Jennifer Chick and I, are going to be out there covering that one. They match up very well with Pinkerton. That's a matchup that I think 2 very big teams. Those 2 biggest teams in the state, unequivocally.
Well, I think 2 things are going to help Pembroke, along with their coaching and their talent, is Pembroke's a basketball town, and if they start to win some games and they get pretty good, the people in that town, while they're very enthusiastic about their team, they're pretty realistic about things. So the kids aren't going to hear you're the best, all this other stuff. They're going to have to go out. They're going to prove it. And the other thing is they're going to hear it from every crowd in the state. So they're going to be tested by the end of the year.
Don't you think it helped them a little bit to have their first game against the quote-unquote easiest team in Division I and then go to Keene and absolutely see their life flash before their eyes?
Well, and that
before pulling out a win. Dave Sontag, by the way, quick shout out, is doing a terrific job at Keene.
Well, considering where Keene was a couple of years ago to,
not an easy place to
moral
coach.
Victories don't really count for much, but to take Pembroke down to the wire, that's a big step for them. But I think it was good for Pembroke because, there's pressure in that because you want to win the game, but nothing against Keene, but they're in the bottom of the standings, so you've got to win that game. And they pulled it out. They didn't play well, so I think as they get more comfortable, I shouldn't say with the spotlight because it's been on them, but they're gonna. I think they're gonna move up the standings. I think they're gonna be a Final Four team, but they've got to defend guards. I think that's going to be their issue. And I have a 4A because I don't know where to put them. That's Memorial.
You copped out.
No, I didn't cop out. It's Memorial. Memorial could be 1, or they could not be number 1.
Yeah.
Who knows what's here? There's so many things going on.
Are we talking about
there.
Trayvon here, or are we talking about Kabongo sticking around?
All of them.
Yeah.
I don't know where to put them. They've got so much talent. If they're all there, they could be good, but who knows? They're the wild card.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a break. I can't believe we're making it through the show so far, but when we come back, Nate Stanton from Londonderry is going to be our guest to discuss his Londonderry Lancers. Played Pelham. I want to ask him how he would feel if he was a middle-of-the-road Division III team and Pelham came into his gym. I think that would be an interesting question. But New Hampshire High School Basketball Show, Dave Haley and Sam Natty in today for P. Terrier. And again, when we come back, Nate Stanton from Londonderry will be our guest.
On News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Dave Haley in the big boy chair for Pete Terrier is off running around water parks today. Sam Natty in studio with me, and my buddy Nate Stanton, head coach of the Londonderry Lancers, good enough to come down here. Why did Nate Stanton come down here? 2 reasons. 1, he lives locally. And 2, because I was afraid I was not going to be able to work the phones, and I would have hung up on him.
It wouldn't have happened.
No, it wouldn't have gone over well. Nate, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, talk to me about early this season. You guys are off to a 2-0 start. Everyone's talking about Cody Ball, Mark Corey. I guess, I don't even know if this is a question, just more of you guys are just a fun team to watch. I love the way you guys get out and run. Talk to me about your fast break. Is it sort of like a North Carolina philosophy on how to get out and spread guys out in the break?
Yeah, I think we put a big point of emphasis on pushing the floor, getting the wings going, and then doing initial stuff right off the break as well. The last thing I want to do is call a play. The goal is to let them play. I'm a big believer in coaching the way I want to play, and it's full court defense and then running and moving the ball. So.
Yeah.
All right, one thing I want to ask you, seems like every kid in New Hampshire, once they score 10 points a game, they start looking at prep schools. And Cody Ball came back this year, and I think he was somebody that was obviously looking. Did you have conversations with him? What was the process that you went through for him to decide to come back to Londonderry instead of going the prep route?
We never actually talked about him going to prep. He didn't apply anywhere. It was a thought in his head, because I know a lot of kids are doing it now. But he was patient. He did excellent in the fall league. So we had St. A's come down, and then Merrimack offered him as well. So I think that kind of put a stomp on that. You don't have to go to prep school. You can, if you're a good basketball player, you can kind of go anywhere you want if you put the work in like he did.
He's kind of a late bloomer.
Yeah, he is.
You
he matured over the off seseason. He's starting to fill out. And
it was funny. He was a kid that get ready, Sam. I'm about to pat myself on the back. I saw him play in one of Nate's first games at Winnicott early last year, and he might have had 6 points in that game. But I don't know. Sometimes you just see a kid, and this is really one of the most fun parts of what I do is you see a kid and you just say this kid can play, and then in the Seacoast tournament, my NH Sports Page team played in a championship game against Pat Welch, Kafani Williams, and Cody Ball was every bit as good as those two guys out there, and so. It wasn't like the summer. I mean, late in the season, he really had kind of blossomed, into the player, to become the player he is now.
Oh, definitely. I think, he's the type of kid that will go to the gym on his own, and then he'll call me and, open up the gym, and he puts the time in, and now it's starting to pay off, and, he's going to have a heck of a season. He's off to a great start, so it's all good.
So second year for you, you won 14-4 last year, Coach of the Year. Not bad, not a shabby way to start it out. One of the fun things for me is to kind of be friends with a lot of coaches and see how you guys communicate with each other. Like the North Country guys are pretty close. Sam and Paul Greenlaw and Jamie Walker at Woodsville and Trevor Howard and, of course, the gods up there, Buddy Trask and Mark Collins. This is your second year. I know, Matt Lemieux, who's a new coach. I know you guys are personal friends. But who are the guys that you find you kind of trade information with? Who are the guys like – if you've got games coming up, you feel like I can reach out to this guy. I know Doc Wheeler is giving you a lot of advice. Like, who are the guys that you kind of talk to?
Yeah, I was going to say Doc Wheeler's definitely been a huge help for me.
He's sort of the dean, right?
Yeah, he's awesome. I still keep in touch a lot with Rob McLaughlin from Salem, where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I coached with him for a couple years, and when I played, he was the JV coach.
I think he's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. Big help. A lot of us coaches have sleepless nights, so he's usually my go-to. Jay McKenna's been great from Winnicott. When I first started, he was very helpful in emailing me and asking if I need any help. Feel free to contact him. Mike Romps from Dover. They're all very helpful. I don't keep in touch with all of them like I wish I could because it's a great group of guys, but it's only a few I can.
The fraternity is interesting. I think the North and Division IV in particular might be the closest to those fraternity. I think there's so much turnover in Division III. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where that might lack a little bit.
Well, it's a big division, and they're spread out all over the state.
Yeah.
For us, you said Paul, Jamie, Trevor, and I, we all live within 15 miles of each other.
That's impossible in the North Country. You don't live within 15 miles of anyone. I've been to your house. You live in Batman's cave.
I'm only 5 miles from Lisbon, which is
Sam. I've been to your house 5 times, and I couldn't tell you how to get there. If you had like $1,000 like waiting for me at your driveway, there's no way I could.
Yeah, but that's the way I like it. That's good.
And that's the way your wife likes it. I can't find where you live, but I think it's just the guys that you can kind of share information with. Give me your thoughts, Nate, on Division I. I think it's pretty wide open. I definitely, I had you guys preseason number 3. You just jumped up to number 2 in the Sam Natty power rankings. Congratulations on that. But it's a pretty wide open division. I mean, let me ask you this. Has it played out early on the way you kind of thought it would? Or is anybody surprising you one way or the other?
I think for the most part, it's played out the way I have. It's still early. We're only 2 games in the regular season. So as we learned last year at Londonderry that, it's who's ever playing best in March. We peaked early last year, and then Memorial was playing the best in March, and Central was playing great all year long. But so I think that's the important part for us this year is that one game at a time, one practice, get better every day, and hopefully by the time March comes around, we get better.
Some people say with the fall league teams, Pembroke especially, that they're as good today as they're going to be all season long, that they're not going to improve that. People will say this. I'm not saying it's true. And maybe they say the same thing about Pelham because those kids play all season long. They're pretty damn good, so I don't know how much better they have to get. Do you agree with that? Because your kids play most of your kids play year-round. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you not agree with that? Say, there's a lot of development, from here to March.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think there's definitely a lot of development. The fall league and the summer leagues you play a game once a week. It's a lot different now that we have practice every day and we can actually focus on our weaknesses and get better throughout the season. I think that's very important and doable.
Yeah.
Looking at the standings, I think D1's wide open, as everybody knows. There's probably 6 or 7 teams that are legit championship contenders, but, as we saw with Keene and Pembroke this year, everybody always says it every year, but this year's really a year where anybody can get beat any night. Since you guys are going to be pretty good and you're going to have a target number. How do you get your guys every night to be ready to go? And so you don't stub your toe somewhere.
Yeah, I always, I'm always telling them we're still trying to make a statement in Londonderry. I read somewhere that the last 15 years we haven't made it past the quarterfinals. So that's obviously a goal for us. But it takes, one day at a time and keeping them focused and not taking anything for granted. And I do bring up the Memorial game. They were a 12 seed last year, and that was each possession is very important. As you guys just saw, we lost to Pelham in double overtime. So I have them go back and watch film and, what possession did we take off? And I'm glad it happened in December, not March. So it was a great learning experience for us.
Talk to me about Cole Britting and Jake Coleman, two guards that are going to be pretty important for you this year.
Oh, yeah. Jake's a returning starter. Love the kid. He hurt his back in the off season, so he was out for 5 months. So he's finally just getting back into it. He's really over the Christmas term. He played with a lot of confidence, and he's a great leader for us. Cole Britting, freshman. He's my 6th man. He can start too. Just a great defender, great unselfish player. And what I'm trying to work with him is to actually shoot the ball a little more because he can shoot. But it's just all confidence with him. He's great. He's a little bull.
How do these guys react to Cody? I mean, do they kind of, do they defer to him, or is it, how does he lead, like, from within? He sounds like kind of like almost a too good to be true. I met his dad, who's a really good guy, And he doesn't have like a 4.0 grade point average or something like that.
Yeah, it's a 4.1.
That's 2 points higher than I had.
Yeah.
All right, fine. It's 2.4 higher than I was.
Yeah. No, he's a great kid. Comes from a great family. The thing with Cody, he's very unselfish. If you look at the
has older brothers that played.
Yeah, Tyler played. Yeah, but he'll make that extra pass. He can take over a game when we need him to. But he'll look for the open person. He averaged 6 assists in the Christmas tournament a game. So.
Okay. All right, so that leads me to the question I wanted to ask. If I'm coaching Raymond High School, I'm Rich Wingate. Went to college with Rich Wingate, by the way, and I got Pelham coming in my gym. What do you say to a poor Division III club? I mean, and I didn't want to be the turd in the punch bowl. And listen, I'm old enough to see Villanova beat Georgetown and, a million other huge upsets. That's why I love doing this. I don't root for those upsets, but, I mean, you love it when they kind of materialize. Sam Natty had a team that won the championship a couple years ago that had absolutely positively no business winning the championship. Mm-hmm. But that's the beautiful part of it. But, how good do you think this Pelham team is? And do you look at them? Did you at any point in that game, double overtime, say, these guys are in Division III?
Well, I knew they were good. They were in the same fall league. We beat them by 1 in the fall, so they were definitely hungry. And Coach Regan does a great job with them. Brown and Clutie are no joke. Those are the two guys that I knew we had to stop, and we couldn't stop them. And I honestly think Pelham would be a top 5 team in Division I.
Yeah.
They're good. They're well coached, and they work hard. They work together. So definitely a good team.
Yeah, and. Leave you with this, probably the most important question we've gotten to so far. The music selection. McIsaac and I brought to you at the Jamboree. One of my favorite parts of the Jamboree video, if you hear Eric Saucier talking to his Kona teams, you can hear 93 Till Infinities by the Souls of Mischief playing in the background. That's why a single tear runs down my face, and Allison has to run over and say, Daddy, what's the matter?
That's every time track.
It is a deep track. Give us your impressions of the music, because at one point I believe you looked over me and just shook your head at me in the middle of warm-ups.
It was good. I think we should have turned it up a little bit. No, it was. You don't hear that everywhere. We'll put it that way.
Maybe the understatement of the year. Yeah. No, you got to go. We went a little Public Enemy. Yeah. We went. I can't remember what the one. He's gonna text me immediately, but it was like Shoop or whatever.
It was Push It.
Push It by Salt and Pepper.
Push It.
That's when I looked up, I think.
Yeah, I still say that's a bold play for a boys' game.
Kids were sitting there dancing in the stands. Like I was like, get that kid a jumbotron. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I expect to have Londonderry in future jamborees, and I don't see a change in the music selection. By the way,
perfect.
When we do the all hair metal, that's when teams will just start leaving the gym.
I'll be there for that.
It's just Sam and I alone in the gym. All right, Nate Stanton, our guest from Londonderry. Appreciate having you in, buddy, and thanks for coming in. Did you get in your car, by the way?
I did.
There you go.
Thank you.
See, we solve problems here in the New Hampshire High Schools Hoop Show. Londonderry. Last thing I'll say, Londonderry is a team you absolutely positively want to go see play, because they are. I mean, it is a fun brand of basketball. They get out, they run the floor. These kids have skill. They got kids like Mark Corey, who's 6'4", can pull up on a dime. How do you say Joe's last name? Kwiatkowski. Really skilled. He's averaging 12 points a game. Jay Coleman. This is a really fun team to go watch. So we appreciate you having you in, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we'll take a break, come back, and we will continue and finish off the Sam Natty Power Rankings when we return to the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
These guys know their high school basketball. It's the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show with Pete Terrier and Dave Haley on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Back for the final 10 minutes of the show.
We've made it so far.
No, don't say it. Don't say a word, man. This is, the great John Kesty in the house. As usual, we appreciate coming in. So the video cast of this will be on nasportspage.com, and Sam and I hope that I won't be sitting next to a defense attorney someday watching this in court. So far, so good. So let's get back to your power ranking. I want to hear, who you feel like, and we can kind of talk about the best teams. Moving on to Division II. Give me your top 4 teams in Division II today.
1, I have Brady. We covered them already. They're just loaded. 2, I have Portsmouth. I think they're similar.
They just defend like crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of that's Jim Mulvey. He's gonna fit. He's got players, and you can't hype Cody Graham for the reason you said, but the kid's a freshman, scored 17, and he's not gonna play if he can't.
I think he's crucial to them because last year I said it. I wonder where the scoring's going to be. And then really in the end against Pembroke, they defended Pembroke better than anybody, but they couldn't score enough to beat them. And, they were relying on guys who averaged like 10 points a game to maybe score 15, 16 in the biggest game of the year. And as you know as a coach, that doesn't work out that often. So I think Cody is really crucial to them because they need Charlie the Hugh's going to score. And Joey Glenn is good enough to get his rebounds, and he's going to get his 10 to 12. They really need Cody Graham to step up as a freshman and score because Sean Parham is a really good on-the-ball defender. He does what they need, but he's not a scorer. And, Christian P is a kid I love off their bench, same kind of thing. So I think they really need Cody to score on
Yeah,
that
and I
team.
think if they can get somebody, when things break down to score, they run some really good stuff, and they're going to get shots. But, like I said, they need somebody that can give them a basket when they need it. And if that's him, they're going to be, they'll make me look smart. 3, last night's result withstanding, I have Lebanon.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's always a hiccup.
KJ Maddie's really good.
Yeah, you liked him, right?
I was impressed with him.
Keeps his head up as well as any kid I've seen.
Well, and what impressed me about him is what he does without the ball in his hands. You see a lot of high school point guards, especially young ones, that are really good with the ball and then don't know what they're doing. But he just found, so whether, when Littleton went man, he got to open spots. When they went zone, he picked them apart. I was really impressed with him. Austin Whaley can play, and they've got athletes. They're small, but they can go fast.
I love the Milliken kid, Ryan Milliken.
There's nobody that plays faster. That kid can fly.
Yeah, he's a running back. He plays he's like a Darren Sproles in football. So and he plays basketball like it too. You love kids like that.
Yeah. And number 4, I have West. And I think the biggest thing coming down from D2 is their Manchester kids, and there's a different brand of toughness with the kids in the city. And I think they got beat up for a couple of years in D1, and now they're going to come down, and it's going to be a whole new world for them. And I don't think they're approaching. They've got great athletes. They're going to be tough.
Beat Trinity in the Christmas tournament.
Yeah, you beat Trinity in the Christmas tournament, and I think as the year goes on, they'll gel a little bit more. But I think they're going to have a lot of fun in D2 this year.
Number 4.
That was number 4.
Oh, that's number 4?
Nicely done.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. We've burst the bubble.
We thought that, I had Merrimack Valley up there, and they were a team that I feel like, first of all, they got a veteran coach and they have a veteran crew, and I also think their schedule lends. I don't know why they're playing Hillsborough Deering, but they are. They play Kearsarge, as well. I think they're a team that could end up there as well. But I agree with that top 4. Division 3. Let me guess who number 1 is.
Will it surprise you if I say Pelham's number 1? I think teams in Division 3 are going to have their hands full, to say the least.
Do you think kids read that and got mad at me?
I don't think people realize how good Pelham is.
That's what I was writing.
And what I think the difference is, we've had a lot of D3 teams come down to D4, and the difference with Pelham coming down is a lot of those D3 to D4 teams, they're bigger D4 programs. They have the same problems we do. Kids in the off season, having multiple things to do where you can play. So Pelham's a D1 program, and I will agree with you that anybody can get beat any given night, but if anybody beats Pelham this year, I think it would be one of the biggest upsets in a long time. It would be similar to Salem beating Trinity a few years ago, or even Lebanon beating Brady 15 years ago when they had all their horses.
I want to address something that I jumped on our forum. I don't go as much as I used to, but I jumped on the NHSportspage.com, the forum that we run. Elliot Bless has run for years. And somebody said, there seems to be some noise that I want to kind of address. Why are they in D3 and blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you, okay, because Matt Regan and I are friends. They wouldn't have the gym if the girls were in Division 3 and they were in Division 2, okay? They wouldn't have the gym. The girls would have a game on a Wednesday night, and the boys couldn't practice. They only have one gym. And so they don't get enough gym time as it is, they feel like. So people can stop squawking about why they didn't ask to be in D3. They have the enrollment for D3, and they can't switch. They can't have the girls in a different division, or they wouldn't have the gym to practice.
Yeah, and it wasn't a team decision.
No, they didn't want to come down. So, but they're here and they're making, they're making the most of it. So anyway, that should be put to bed. I mean, maybe people didn't understand that, but okay. So anyway, go ahead. Number 2,
Campbell. I think if Pelham was still in D2, I think they'd be the favorite this year. They got everybody back. I think Zach Bergen coming back to Campbell was a great decision. With all 5 stars back, Langlois is going to come up with something every night.
Yeah, I know.
And
I can't wait to hear where it came from. That's my favorite part.
Well, and I think if there's a team that can beat Pelham, I think it's probably them. But
Yeah.
That's a big jump, for them.
Pelham's very good against zones. They know where to find little, and the baseline. They found a baseline hole in that zone, and they just beat it to death.
3, I have Newport, and I think, they seem to be more disciplined this year. I think last year's team, as a lot of people saw, there was some issues.
Yeah.
But they seem to have that figured out. They got a lot of talent, and their team last year was good. But when you're a high seed and you get upset in the first round, that doesn't happen by accident. And I think that's been solved. And I'm copping out again with my 4th pick, and I'm going Conant/Berlin.
See, I think Conant is better than Berlin right now.
I think right now probably Conant is. They're young, and if you're young at Conant, it just means you're not good yet. It's not a question.
They're a year away. They're going to be really good next year.
Yeah. Oh, I think next year they're going to be loaded. But this year, with that program, what Eric does and the stuff they run and how they do things, they'll figure it out quick. Berlin's the same thing. I think one of the issues for Berlin is, when you have a late coaching change, even to a guy that is a great coach. I mean, if you can have somebody who's having Morissette come in, is about as good as you can get. The guy really knows it, but it's little things like terminology. They run the same stuff, but maybe he wants you here, and you're a step, little things like that I think as the year goes on, because they've struggled a little bit.
They're very disciplined with Don, and Donnie is, I have the ability, and I'm able to talk to 50, 60 coaches, was as respected a coach as you're gonna find. So. It is tough. It's nothing against Dave at all.
And I think he's going to be fine. And it sounds like he's there, but it's not. I mean, the guy can coach.
Okay. I agree. So we got about 2 minutes left. Division 4.
D4. All right. Epping's won. They're the champs still. They're solid.
What have they shown you so far?
They got a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Colby Wilson's good.
They are deep.
Brett Kuchar's really good. He's probably the only back to the basket big guy in our division.
He's a big boy.
Sean's going to have him ready to go. 2, I have Sunapee. I'm putting an 0-3 team second.
Wow, number 2?
And I'm going because of Chappelle and Tenney. I still say they might be the best backcourt in the state. And in our division, now that they're back, they're going to win a lot of games. 3, I have Littleton. And I think that can go up. I think getting Ethan Ellington back Ethan Ellingwood, is going to help them a lot. He's going to give them the edge they need. They've got all the talent. Trevor does a great job. They'll move up. And then 4, I have Wilton. I think because they've got talent, I think going forward they've got to determine who they have besides Jordan Litz. They've got a lot of new guys, so as they work guys in, they'll be fine. But who knows what's going to happen in D4.
And real quick, would you say Derryfield and Groveton are pretty close as those 5-6?
I'd say Derryfield, Groveton, Portsmouth Christian are the next group.
Yeah. I think so, too. I think Wilton, I want to see them play Epping or an elite team with Jordan Litz. But absolutely, them getting blown out that badly without him was a little bit distressing. So, that will be interesting. Littleton, I just think it's going to be hard to determine how good they are, because of their schedule and so forth. So, all right, so wrapping it up, I think we made it. Should we start swearing now?
Yeah.
Just start saying horrible things at the end of the show. Thanks to John Kessier coming in, Sam Natty from Lisbon for coming all the way down. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I think we survived this.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get in trouble.
We'll be back next. Pete Terrier, don't worry, everybody. Pete Terrier will be back next Saturday. Thanks for checking in. See you next week.